TAs abound. It's time for a segment we call Make No Mistake. Hey, Harry Douglas, are the Steelers, once and for all, are they making a mistake in this pursuit and wait with Aaron Rodgers?
No, Grinny, I don't believe they are, especially when you look at the AFC North, and two of the elite quarterbacks in the National Football League happen to be in that division, Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Also, you have to look at, since Ben Roethlisberger, over the last 3 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 23-9 when the quarterback doesn't throw an interception. That's one of the strong points for Aaron Rodgers, taking care of the football. So I think if they have dreams and aspirations of trying to compete for anything in the AFC North first, then they have to have the quarterback Aaron Rodgers and not Mason Rudolph be their starter.
All right, we'll keep an eye on how that situation plays out. It's taken forever. Speaking of taking forever, Domonique, are the Cowboys making a mistake by waiting to pay their superstar defender Micah Parsons?
Absolutely. There really is no advantage to waiting to pay Micah Parsons. The fifth-year option makes his cap number jump up to $24 million. And if you think about it, once you sign the extension, the cap number goes down. Myles Garrett's cap number is lower than Micah Parsons right now. So there really there's no reason why they should hold on to Micah Parsons without giving him that extension, because it hurts the team every way you look at it.
And then finally, Kmart. If I said Cleveland, are they making a mistake burying Shedeuer Sanders on their depth chart?
Really, I don't think he's buried at all. I think it's so premature to even frame it like this. I understand the interest given the fact that there are 4 quarterbacks there, but to say he's being a disservice is being done to Shedeuer, I think, is a bit much.
Okay, I want to dive more deeply into this. This has become, to me, the most interesting story of the entire NFL preseason, or the preseason, whatever we would call this. The Browns' offensive coordinator, you know him, it's Tommy Rees. He was talking yesterday about Shedeur's time in Cleveland so far, and he said some very interesting things.
Yeah, he's worked his tail off. You know, he's really putting a lot of work, as all those guys are. But you could tell on the mental side of the game and learning the system and calling it and having that rhythm to it. You know, he's put a lot of work and time and effort into that. And then when you do that, the game starts to slow down and you can focus on finding completions.
In terms of the quarterback competition, at this point, can you realistically see any one of these 4 guys winning this job?
I mean, yeah, you can see them all winning the job.
All right, I love his little exasperated laugh, because he's like, there's no way I can answer this question without making a headline, which is the only thing these guys are trying to do in that conversation is not say something that we're going to run with. But they gave him no option by asking the question that way. At the end of the day, again, you were there. It remains my belief. I made a prediction right after the draft. The first reports that are going to come out of there are going to be, Browns pleasantly surprised with how quickly Shedeur is picking up the offense. And, Browns raving about his work ethic. All the good stuff is going to start coming out of there, because he is a 5th-round pick in name only.
Yes.
Tell me what you're seeing and hearing coming out of Cleveland.
Well, what Tommy Rees said is exactly what I heard when I was there for rookie minicamp, which is in the building, they see any 4 of these guys as potential starters. The real question, though, for me, is Kevin Stefanski has said, I have a plan. We knew we were going to have 4 quarterbacks. I have a plan for how we're going to divvy up the reps. But Kevin Stefanski has not given any specifics as to how that actually plays out when there are so limited reps to go around. It's not just for Shedeur. Also, Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback who people forget was drafted in the 3rd round ahead of Shedeur. So you got 2 young kids who need practice time. But Shedeur has impressed from the beginning. It really is going to be who picks up the playbook quicker and who is more at ease with this offense.
Domonique, I like the way you were talking about it this morning in our meeting, because, again, if you just look at their roster, if you were to print it up on a piece of paper, it would just have 5th-round pick Shedeur Sanders next to it. But the reality of it, at least to me, feels very different from that.
Yeah, we could talk about all the things around Shedeur that could have caused him to slide to the 5th round, but all those same things are the reasons why we're talking about him right now. Like, he's not a normal 5th round pick. He's going to get his chance. He just needs to be ready for that opportunity. I don't remember the last time we talked about a 5th round quarterback in June. We were talking about him in May. He's a big deal, and the team is going to give him an opportunity at some point, but he needs to use this time, I think, to win over his teammates and coaches and fans, which it seems like he's doing right now. say and do all the right things, be ready for your opportunity, because it's not going to be a long one. He still is a 5th-round pick in compensation. So if it doesn't look great early, I think they will move on from him. But let's not be silly and think that he's not going to get a chance to start at some point this season.
So, Harry, you're my offensive player in this conversation, so you've been there. You would have been one of the people on the field while all this is happening. Tell us how any of these well, let's put Flacco in a different category. Everyone knows who and what he is. He's an extraordinarily accomplished person. They don't need to find out what Joe Flacco is. The truth is Kenny Pickett is a completely unfinished product, or at least that would be hopeful. And then you got the 2 rookies. So how is it that one of these guys has an opportunity in what is going to be divvied up like this? What will they be looking for? What will separate one of them by the time they get to the end?
I think number one, can you earn the trust of your teammates? And for Shedeur Sanders and particularly Greeny, I don't think it's about, where he is on the depth chart right now. All these guys, when you get the opportunity to go out there in 7-on-7 and also in 11-on-11 drills and then in 1-on-1s, show that you can be counted on, that you can make plays and you can limit your mistakes. And if you do make a mistake, don't remake that mistake again in following practices. So earning the trust of your teammates, grasping the playbook. And I tell you, once you get out there on that football field and you ball out, and your teammates see that you're playing well and you're making plays, they're going to talk enough, so much so where the coach is going to have to make that decision to put you as a starting quarterback.
He was a 1st-round pick, and while many questioned that at the time, he wasn't a 5th-round pick. He's still a young player. So I would put those 3 guys in one sort of box and say any of the 3 of them could pleasantly surprise everyone and sort of grab this job by the throat. Joe Flacco is there. We know what he is. He's a constant. Yeah. And if they decide that's what they want to do, then he's an easy decision. One of the other 3 guys, any of the other 3 guys, it seems to me, has the opportunity to jump up and grab this by the throat. And if Shedeur Sanders is the caliber of player that every analyst that I followed during the pre-draft process said he was, then I think he has the best chance of the 3.
Yeah, obviously Joe Flacco's not the long-term answer. He's going to be a bridge quarterback, whether it's a bridge from week 1 to week 4 or it's a bridge from this season to next is up to the other quarterbacks on the roster. I think it's likely that the Browns will be near the top of the draft again next year. And whether they decide to draft another quarterback or they stick with one of these guys is going to be up to Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and Shedeur Sanders at some point this season. Like I mentioned earlier, they don't have a long time to show what they can do, but it's important that you don't make mistakes. Coaches at this point want a quarterback that they can trust. They can call complex schemes and understand that the worst thing that's going to happen is an incomplete pass. So don't make any big mistakes and try to move the chains when you can, but don't put your team in a bad situation. I think that's the most important thing for Shedeur to show, which it seems like, aside from taking sacks, he's pretty good at not turning the ball over. So we'll see what Shedeur Sanders does when he's given the opportunity, which he will get at some point this season.
Shedeur is also, based on the conversations I've had since I was there to now, is very good at blocking out the outside noise. All of the conversation about him, what people think, where he was drafted. I even asked him about the opportunity he has, and he said, I'm not here to prove anybody wrong. I'm here to prove myself right. He truly has an opportunity to show everyone that he is more than just a 5th-round pick. But again, it's up, as the guys are saying, it's up to him to do the work. Because he is a rookie.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, going back to when he was drafted, the whole world reacted as though this was something horrific. He had a party that night, and it didn't look funereal, right? The stuff that we saw about it, he looked like he was celebrating, like he's a young person with an outstanding opportunity. The narrative, it's just the very beginning of the story. It has the reality of it hasn't even begun to be written yet. Now, NFL is next, and the game is called Repeat or Retreat. Harry Douglas, the Chiefs have won the AFC West 9 straight seasons. Will they repeat and make it 10, or will they finally retreat this year?
Greeny, I'm going to retreat, and the main reason because I feel that way is because of the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are a ferocious defense, and they only got better on that side of the football. They added Dre Greenlaw at the linebacker position, Hufanga, 2 guys from San Francisco, and also drafted Jahdae Barron from the University of Texas. So I'm going with the Denver Broncos winning the AFC West.
Nick, let me get in on this because I think, and I mentioned this yesterday in a slightly different context, that one of the reasons that the Patriots had the dynastic run that they did was they won their division so easily. The other teams in their division really struggled. Right. I think everyone in the AFC West has gotten better. The Raiders, I think, will get markedly better with their new coaching and everything else. To Harry's point, the Broncos made the playoffs last year and are good. And I don't want people to forget the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, I think that team, they made the playoffs last year. I think they're going to be really good. I think this is going to be a much tougher run for KC in the AFC West, whether they win it or not.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a much more competitive division. Of course, I'm sure Harry agrees that they have a chance to win the division, but I think I agree with him. Being atop that division, being atop any division for an extended period of time is incredibly difficult. And this team is one that has been proven to be weak in some areas throughout all of last season. It's not just that performance in the Super Bowl. Throughout all of last season, we saw this team have significant issues that some of which they've tried to address, but we won't find out if they've been addressed or not until the season comes. And my feeling is that they're going to get taken down as the champs of the AFC West, but it doesn't mean by any stretch that they don't have a realistic chance of winning a championship again, because they are the Chiefs and they still have Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, of course, and Andy Reid and everybody else. I agree. Kmart, it's just interesting because I just have in my notes here, Harry is going to predict that the Chiefs don't win the division, and I assumed he was going to say the Chargers. And so it's just funny. There are two legitimate teams that you could assign that to as sort of heirs to that throne.
Because every other team in that division didn't just get better roster-wise. They got better at quarterback and they got better at head coach. Mm-hmm. They've made significant changes, and it's wonderful to see some more parity return to the AFC West. But this is just what the Chiefs need. I think we talked about this yesterday. Patrick Mahomes saying, listen, we kind of got hit in the mouth, and that's a good wake-up call for us, because for the Chiefs, it is about Super Bowls, not about just being a playoff team. So that added competition, I think that's going to be really good for the Chiefs.
And I would add to the conversation, we talk about the coaches. They are, I believe I saw this statistic, they are the oldest collection of coaches in NFL history ever to be in one division. You got Sean Payton, you got Andy Reid, you got Pete Carroll, and the baby of them all is Jim Harbaugh.
It's crazy.
Pretty remarkable division. Let's go to a different division in the AFC, Neek. The Baltimore Ravens won the AFC North last year. Do they repeat or retreat?
Yeah, I think they've won it for the last 2 seasons. I think they repeat again. There's really no reason, aside from Lamar Jackson's health, that this team isn't the best in the division. They haven't gotten significantly worse in any spot, and I'm excited to see how much better this defense can be with adding a little bit more strength there. So I think the one team that we could look at in this division is the Bengals. But obviously, if you look at those two rosters, the Bengals roster has much more holes than the Ravens roster does, and the Ravens' coaching and success has been much more consistent. That division isn't as tough as it once was.
No one knows that division better than Kmart. We'll get to her, but let's go to the NFC East here, Kmart. Will the Eagles repeat as NFC East winners, or will they retreat?
I'm going to say retreat, only because the ability to defend the Super Bowl title, that to me is just so difficult. So I'm going to say retreat. That was a tremendous season that they had. Saquon Barkley was a stud. For them to repeat in all those areas, I just don't see it, because, again, got Jaden Daniels. We talked about him. This division, the Cowboys, on paper, have improved as well.
And I can hear Dan Graziano in my ears right now saying no one has repeated in that division in 21 years. So history says the Eagles can't do it. Now, one of the most important pieces, maybe the most important piece of the Eagles' success last year was Saquon Barkley. Well, I want you to hear what he said about his future, his NFL future, just this week.
I'll probably be one of those guys that it'll be out of nowhere. Like, I'll probably just wake up one day, whether it's next year or 2 years or 4 years, like, and just be like, yeah, it's over. I don't think I will ever lose that passion. The competitive nature is always going to be there, but I like probably my favorite player of all time is Barry Sanders. So probably similar to that. Maybe one day, like, it'll be out of nowhere. I'll probably be balling and just be like, yeah, call it quits.
I'm sorry, what? That's quite an interesting thing for Saquon to say. By the way, he's 28. Barry Sanders' final season was his age 30 season in the NFL. Domonique, did you take that to mean Saquon Barkley is contemplating hanging him up much sooner than we would expect?
I mean, shout out to Chris Long for the great question, because I don't think any of us were expecting him to say anything like that. He said whether it's next year. Right. He brought up next year. No one forced that on him. It's like shocking to me to hear him say that. And I think this roster is incredibly well constructed, but we do have to appreciate that Saquon's arrival really unlocked this offense in a way. So I think one positive of this is it's a reminder how short the windows are. And if there's any complacency in Philadelphia, I think it's gone now. If they're hearing that Saquon may only be around for a year or two more and he's going to surprise you and just wake up one morning and say, I'm done, it's a scary thing to hear. But I'm sure that he's completely in on this season, and the rest of the players around him, after hearing that, I assume they will be too. Yeah,
Harry, you were making the point this morning that particularly amongst running backs, like a lot of guys aren't looking to play as long as they used to.
Well, and Greeny, also I would say this is the epitome of 2025, this era of life in general, where these players, they don't feel like they have to play 12 and 13 years. Saquon Barkley just won a NFL championship and also rushed for 2,000 yards. These guys are saying that I want to leave on my terms and I don't want the game sending me out. So with that being said, we've seen multiple people retire within the last 3 or 4 years on their own terms. So this is going to be the new norm. So I'm not going to be surprised by it.
I love it. I think for me, as a reporter, as a journalist, I started my career as a beat writer, and I would write stories about guys having a hard time with the life after football transition. And so to see Saquon speak with such clarity and say, one day I may not want to do this, I think that sort of perspective is wonderful. Now, what it means for Eagles fans and the team is a different story. I think when we talk about this season and beyond,
Joe Fortenbaugh is wearing the Eagles jacket today. So
what
perfect for this. The line for Saquon's rushing yards this year, he went over 2,000 a year ago. The number is 1,400.5. So 1,401 would put it at the over. What do you like?
It's an insane number. It's an insane number. The bet would be the under. Don't worry about the player, worry about the number. This number's been breached 18 times in 10 years. That's less than 2 running backs per year going over this number. Everything needs to go right. You need to stay healthy. The O-line needs to stay healthy. You can't be trailing in the fourth quarter because you lose those carries. Saquon himself in 7 seasons has done this one time last year. What you do with a number like this is you sell high and you go under. It's no disrespect to Saquon. It's just trying to get to this. This is an inflated price. You take advantage by going the other way.
Of all the running backs that ever ran for 2,000 yards in a season, only one of them topped this number the following year. I believe it was Barry Sanders. I had it in the notes this morning. It was Sanders. So that's Saquon's idol. Maybe he'll follow in his path, and then maybe he'll ride off into the sunset. That would be something else. All right.